From our free daily newsletter, the latest from Podnews.net with Supporting Cast. Spotify's Megaphone and Spotify for Creators are to support video for podcasts published on Apple Podcasts. The two companies were the only large podcast hosts not to announce support for HLS video when Apple announced it earlier in the year. It doesn't change how video works on Spotify, however. The company still requires videos to be uploaded directly for playback on the Spotify app. The company also announced live partners for Spotify video distribution, which allows your podcast host to directly upload video for you into Spotify. Libsyn, Podigy, Audio Boom, Audio Means and Podspace are all live with the feature today. Spotify video distribution was announced in January. Acast and Omni Studio were both highlighted as launch partners then, but aren't yet live. Spotify is now explicit in the FAQ that if you change your mind, you can transition your show back to an audio-only RSS feed, but the company warns you, you'll lose all video uploads. At a big YouTube event called Brandcast, a number of YouTube-exclusive shows were announced, including 4 new shows from Alex Cooper's Unwell Network. YouTube announced a number of new features for advertisers. The New Zealand Podcast Summit last weekend was the last, the organiser Lewis Tennant announced. It was the 5th annual event. It leaves both Australia and New Zealand without a focused podcast conference. Where are Inception Point AI hosting their entirely AI-produced shows these days? After leaving Spreaker last week, Spotify's Megaphone is now the company's podcast host. Podnews understands that Inception Point AI is not monetizing its podcasts through Span, Spotify's audience network, and that there are no plans to enable Span for their shows. For migrated shows that Podnews sampled, all disclosures that the content is produced by AI have been removed from episode and show notes. Some shows have no disclosure in the audio either. Spotify is currently evaluating how AI shows up across the platform, including questions around transparency and disclosure, but Apple Podcasts guidelines have a clear requirement to prominently disclose the use of AI. We asked Apple Podcasts why Inception Point AI shows were still appearing in its directory, which feeds other apps, when they're in contravention of Apple's content guidelines. Apple Podcasts acknowledged our question, but didn't get back to us. Currently, a search for Charlie Kirk in Apple Podcasts returns an Inception Point AI show at number 4, number 6, number 7, number 9, number 15, number 19, and number 23, and in Spotify at number 6, number 12, number 14, number 17, number 19, and number 27. The company has around 15,000 shows. Crossed Wires has partnered with South by Southwest London to create the podcasting track stage on June the 3rd, which will be held at Christchurch Spitalfields. The company has also appointed Ian Bushell as managing director. What's changed in the last 6 years to get the most out of your podcast marketing? Jeremy Enns from the Podcast Marketing Academy, which is 6 years old this week, reflects on what's changed and what hasn't in a blog post that we link to today. He's in London next week, as are we, and that's why Podnews is slightly shorter, because I've got a pack. And in podcast news, Blowback is a podcast about the American Empire. The last season looked at the story of Angola, Cuba, and apartheid South Africa's Cold War showdown. It's with Airwave, and we thank them for their support. And it was illegal to be gay in Queensland in Australia until 1991. Police could burst into your house at any time and could even beat you up. In the new podcast, Queersland, hear a celebration of the state's unique culture from those who were there and those who smashed the system. And this podcast is sponsored by Supporting Cast. Your brand, your site, your rules. Supporting Cast is the invisible engine that powers your premium experience. Integrate a seamless subscription flow directly into your own website. Stop being a content provider for somebody else's app and be the destination. There's a link in our show notes for Supporting Cast today. And that's the latest from our newsletter. To read all the stories and subscribe for free, we're at podnews.net.